Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Heart Space Atelier podcast. My name is Henry. I'm your host. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a beautiful, cozy time as you are listening to this or even watching this on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're watching this. I hope you're having a very cozy time. I definitely am having such a cozy time. I am currently filming this on December 25th. So, yesterday I had a beautiful Christmas Eve, and I just got back from my grandparents' place, and I felt really called to talk about some things that they actually inspired while I was there because I feel like we all have this one collective universal experience that when you spend Christmas or any holiday or any like religious background holiday, whatever, or any family gathering in general, guys, there's this thing that seems to happen to most of people, which is political indifferences or like just completely different opinions that are so far away from what you believe in. People criticizing your body, people criticizing your choices, people criticizing the way you think. I think it is a very prominent thing that everybody, well, almost everybody, at least everybody I know, goes through every single Christmas. And I have a very small family. I don't really go to like huge family gatherings because I really am not in touch or close with any of my distant relatives. Like for me, it's really just my grandparents and my mom and my dogs. And that is kind of like all I need, honestly. And I'm really grateful for this because most of the time I don't really get the same experience that a lot of people get with the horrible political talks, like where you're just like, holy shit, I can't believe my family, like my same blood, things like that, or the bad comments about yourself because it's very prominent is what I'm trying to say. So I don't really get that a lot because I have a small family. My mom is like the chillest, most liberal and spiritual icon. And I just, I am not really having to indulge in many toxic things that a lot of people I know are going through during the holidays. But as much as I don't want to share too much about my personal life on the internet space, I do want to mention that my grandparents are one of a kind. And they, especially my grandpa, can have some opinions, okay? Which I really do not align with, okay? And so today I thought about it. It hit me once again, basically every time I'm there, because my grandparents are like people that are very, very much have been in one place their entire lives, and they have stayed where they have been planted. So basically, they're trees. And this is really what inspired today's episode because I was like, oh my goodness, I chose to stop having this tree mindset and mentality where I'm like, okay, since I was birthed here in my hometown, which is where I am right now, by the way, since I was birthed here, I need to stay here, and my entire social web is here, and I could never let this go, and everything here is promised, because of like from the people, in your hometown, from the job opportunities, from like everything is really promised, and it kind of gives you the sense of stability, which ends up being totally fake, but I feel like a lot of people who stay in their hometown their entire lives, which there's nothing wrong with at all if you're happy. But if you know that there's something deeper calling you in the world and that you need to find out, what is out there to find yourself and to realign your values and find out what it is that you truly believe in, you know? Instead of blindly following your peers' opinions and lifestyles, that is when you need to get the fuck out. And I'm really glad that I made that decision almost 4 years ago. I moved out. I mean, I didn't immediately move out, but what I did was basically I started traveling the world by myself, and it was honestly the most beautiful experience of my life. I mentioned this a lot, and I feel like everybody needs to do at least one travel alone, at least once in a lifetime, because it gave me so many realizations. And one of them being is that I am not a tree. I do not accept or want to continue this generational curse of being comfortable in the sad, sad life that a lot of people have created within my family that they don't want to escape. Once again, I'm not shading them. I don't want to say anything bad about that decision, but it is just not my decision. And I also really don't want to end up like my family, which is basically like staying in the same place their entire lives and then complaining that nothing is changing, even though they are never changing and all they do is complain and complain and complain. So props to me and props to you for being the cycle breaker, because if you weren't the cycle breaker, you wouldn't be watching this. So it is a lot to handle as well, because for me, the main struggle of my entire life has always been consistency, or like making decisions and actually pulling through with them and proceeding with them. It's been like this my entire life because I have had so many perfect, familiar examples that always showed me, like, hey, just stay where you are, don't change, don't ever change, don't step out of your comfort zone. And I remember this from a very early age, and I feel like Germany is really even worse than different countries or different cultures when it comes to this. And this is also something I realized even after moving to Berlin. I moved to Berlin because I wanted to live in a city that is more vibrant and more in touch with other cultures. And I wanted to move somewhere where I knew that I would be able to grow more because more people live there that have the same mindset that I have when it comes to business, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to growing and, just like glowing, having a fucking glow up, and just expanding in every single direction of life. I needed to go somewhere. I needed to move somewhere that would help me strengthen this mindset. So now I have been living in Berlin for almost 3 years. Wait, actually, yeah, it's been 3 years, I guess you could say. And what I've realized is that yes, people have this mindset, but it's still Germany. So in the long run, I will move the fuck away. I don't know where yet. I have some visions, but I'm not going to go into that because I'm also somebody that will only share information once it's already been complete, So I am, which kind of leads me to my next point. I am so careful on what I share, and I'm so careful these days of sharing promises that I made myself because I just want to share information of things that are celebration worthy that I did only when they're already done, so nobody can stop me because of this inconsistency I had inherited. I'm trying to be very careful with my words here because I am so done with being a tree. And I was so done 5 years ago where I started traveling. I was like, no, I don't want to end up like my family. So as scary as it was so scary for me to take that step, but I sold a lot of my belongings. I decided that I will do whatever it takes to get out of here, and I will beat this fear of traveling alone. I'll beat the fear of not doing what was kind of expected of me. But then again, I also have to say props to my family for one thing, which was basically kind of like, they always kind of let me do what I wanted to do because they just didn't really care. And like, not in a bad way, but like in a just do your thing. Like, we kind of believe in you, you know? I really had to look fear straight into the eye and be like, if I don't defeat you now, I'm gonna stay here forever, and then I'm gonna be just as miserable and have a boring tree life. Because as humans, I feel like it is also in our nature to experience the world, to indulge in being a voyager, and sailing through the endless opportunities and experiences that this earth can offer us. So I truly feel like we need to travel in order to find ourselves. There's no way around it. And in this day and age, it's become more and more clear that we are so lucky to be living in this day and age where we could build up a business or a job from your computer, and you can work literally anywhere. And anybody that sets their mind towards that could do it. And I think that is so valuable, and it frees us so much. And we need to realize that more. We need to realize that we are living in a time that is different from the quote unquote old school times where, you couldn't really abandon yourself or your life that you have built in your hometown or anywhere else because everything is set in stone, everything is physical and right in front of you. But now with this, you know, people call it Age of Aquarius or New Age, with this new age, we are no longer bound to that. And I feel like we need to embrace that. And I have decided many years ago to make this my life mission, and to not have a job where I'm stuck inside an office, and also have a job that allows me to be creatively expressing myself and just expand everything that is within my heart. And oh my God, I don't know if the camera caught that, but this candle just there was a little spark going on. That was beautiful. I don't know if you guys saw that. And if you're listening, so if you're just listening, maybe you're like, what the hell is he talking about? But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we have so many opportunities, and as the new collective, as the new generation, or if you're a millennial listening to this, or if you're Gen Z listening to this, or if you are like, if you're a boomer, I say this with all my love. I think all these terms are so useless anyway, because who cares? Why do we put ourselves in boxes? Like, you could be a boomer and still feel like Gen Z, or you could be Gen Z and still feel like a boomer. Who cares? Age doesn't matter here in this space, okay? We're all equally worthy. But since you're seeing this, no matter how old you are, whether in your 60s or in your 40s or 30s or 20s, like I am, or you haven't turned 20 yet, like, I think that it's important to remember that we have already arrived in this new time, which is basically like, yeah, we are more free than ever. I know it doesn't feel like that because there's so many new fears that were added into the collective and the world energy, but we are more free than we think. In fact, we are so free that we could make something extraordinary and abundant and successful happen from our lab, from our laptop, from our phone. You could post a TikTok Not even think about it. It could blow up and it could change your life forever. These things are not out of reach for us, you know? And I just wanted to make this podcast episode today because I feel like everybody needs a reminder that it is possible to not end up like our elder family, being a tree their entire lives. We don't have to choose that. Everything we do, every truth we accept, we decide that, we choose that path. So if you believe that you cannot do something, you actively choose that path. You actively choose believing that you cannot do it. We are the alchemists of every single thing in our life. But I also believe that sometimes we need to surrender in certain situations. I do believe that sometimes there are things that are just out of our control temporarily, where we need to surrender. It is always a beautiful dance between our own power and the divine and surrendering. It needs to be a dance, and a dance can, like, I don't know, tango or whatever. You know, it can only happen between two people, and those two people are you and the divine. So you need to work with the divine, and you need and you need to know when to flow, and you need to know when to play, and you need to know when to push, and you will know when to play or when to push when you are in tune with your emotions and when you do things on a day-to-day basis that lead you closer to your inner divine lover. Shout out to the first episode of this podcast. And there's so many things that we think we don't have any power over, but we do. Even our destiny. I feel like a lot of us, we believe that we have a destiny, we have a purpose in life that has been given to us by the universe. But we also don't believe too much, I think. We should believe in it more, that we choose our path. You could be the most successful, talented artist on this planet, and your heart knows it, but your head will keep you stuck in a 9-to-5 office job your entire life because you're too scared to take the leap, because you don't believe in the fact that when you leap, the net will appear. We believe in so many bullshitty things, it's almost comedic. We believe that everything is serious, even though we are floating on a rock through space. We could die any second. The earth could be destroyed any second. Could it explode? Like, who fucking knows? Or we could live an abundant, beautiful life. We could turn like 102 years old and live the most beautiful life of our dreams. But we need to create the space for that. We need to pull out our roots. We are not meant to be trees in this life, especially if you're listening to this. We are not meant to be trees. It's just the fact. The point is that I need you guys to lock in on the fact that you are not a tree. If you don't like your living situation or your country, if you don't like the country you live in, it is possible to leave and move to a different country. It is possible. So many people are doing it, and this is something that I've recently come to terms with, guys. It took me my whole life to understand this. Yes, there's paperwork involved, but deep down, you know, like things like that are easy. Things like that are easy because they're possible, and something that is possible is easy. I believe in it. Yes, it might be tricky from time to time and annoying and like time investing, but at the end of the day, everything in this life is fucking easy. Especially nowadays, everything is easy. Doesn't mean that you don't have to work hard, because yes, you may have to. But we create our own destiny. We create our own luck. I don't believe in luck anymore. Why? Because I feel like I believe in myself being open for luck more. once we are open for luck, once we know that we create our own luck, once we put the work on and the intention in, that is the true meaning of luck. I mean, yes, sometimes the universe will bless us when we least expect it, which is beautiful, but deep down we must realize we are the creators of our life, of our little universe that we're creating for ourselves, which is not little at all, you know? But we need to know that we create our destiny, we create our luck. Whatever you choose to do, you choose to do, period. You know, like, you need to know this, and you need to know that anything is possible. There's so many millionaires, billionaires, whatever, who are who are less qualified and more stupid and dumb than you could ever think. But what did they do? They just chose to go for it. They chose to create their own luck and not be trapped within their own misery of like, oh, I can't do this. You can still get your ass up and act like you believe in yourself, even if you don't. You can still do it. That is how powerful we are. Even if we feel miserable inside, we can put on a mask that says, let's go, bitch. Let's go. We can put on a mask that tells us and everybody else, I can do this. We can fake it till we make it. It's not that hard. Everything in this life is easy. Also, sorry, my camera was just shaking because of my aggression. I don't know. But you know, it is all easier, and we need to let go of the stupid mindsets that we have inherited from our past generations, especially where I come from in Germany. You know, there's so much ancestral baggage, you know, the war and the fears before, during, and after, and this stoic and negative mindset that Germans have. It's not a joke, guys. It is not a joke. It is something that really, really can fuck somebody up. And it is hard to stay in tune with the golden light that you are in a place that is so deeply negative. And I don't want to talk too much about like negative stuff and like complain, but I see this as power food for me to not be a tree and travel more and move in the future to a place that accepts me and supports me. Now, I have been to places like Los Angeles 2 years ago, and while I definitely wouldn't be moving to America right now, hell no, that's some scary shit that's going on there. I still do believe that California specifically, the people that live there normalize going after your dreams. They normalize building your own business. They normalize being successful and self-made. That is not a thing where I live. Not at all. And that is what's keeping everybody trapped. Will it keep me trapped? Hell no. I don't care. I don't fucking care. Because I know I have bigger plans for myself in my life, and this will not keep me down. I am not somebody that is built for a 9 to 5. I'm not somebody that has been built to have a boss. I had bosses a couple of times. Actually, like 3 times, okay? No, 4 times. I have had 4 jobs, and the first one I got into a fight with the boss because she treated me like bullshit, and I am really not somebody that accepts disrespect, even though I knew that it may cost me my job. I still decided to stand up for myself, and I remember telling her, like, into her face, like, listen, how you're treating me is beyond horrible, and you're just an asshole. And see, that is why I cannot have a boss, because it may come to that. You know, if they're shitty boss, I've had great bosses as well. I've had wonderful bosses, okay? And it was still kind of like in the realm of being responsible for your own work. So, you know, I worked jobs as production in TV. I worked jobs as like social media managing. I worked jobs as in kind of like events and stage planning, and you know, it was kind of always the same route, I guess you could say. I had a job as a barista, you know, and my past job, we're not going to talk about that actually. I don't want to talk about that. You know, and if you're the same like I am, you just cannot stand to have a boss because you want to be in charge of every single thing. Maybe it's time you face that thought, that truth you hold within your heart, and you're like, actually, yeah. Actually, maybe I am meant to build my own empire, my own beauty, my own business, my own ideas. Maybe I'm meant to provide for myself, and maybe I'm meant to just not have a fucking boss, and that is okay. That is okay. Look how many people are doing it. Look how many people are just stupid. Way more stupid and dumb than you. Yet they still achieve it. I mean, look at fucking Elon Musk. Look at this guy. He's horrible. He's dumb and stupid, and just look at him. You know? Morally, he's fucked up and stupid. But for some reason, he's a billionaire. Like, just face it. You don't have to always play fair in an unfair world. This world is unfair because look at those assholes who have so much more. But this is showing us we need to get our asses up and believe in ourselves as well, because if they can, so can you. You have light behind your eyes. You have a beautiful soul. If you're seeing this, it is just confirmation. You have a deeper well within your heart that is full of magic and abundance that none of these motherfuckers have. Do you think like fucking Elon Musk or anyone has a deeper well of infinite love and abundance? No, I don't think so. They just decided to go for it, you know? And unfortunately, we do live in an unfair world where the goodness in people doesn't always bring them the same amount of abundance, you know? But what does bring them the same amount of abundance is deciding to go for it, deciding to do it. You need to decide that for yourself. There's no other way around it. Don't think that you have to have everything figured out. Don't think that you need to inherit the same mindset as your lineage. Don't think that you need to stay where you are right now. And please don't think that all of this is difficult. That is the biggest thing keeping you from breaking free. You need to realize that everything in this life is easy. Sometimes it will feel overwhelming and heavy, but at the core of everything, it is all so easy. We need to bombard ourselves with this mindset, because that is the only way we can truly set ourselves free. That is the only way we can truly be open for abundance any given second. Everything is easy. It is all easy. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I went on a little bit of a rant here, but I hope it shook you up, and I hope you learned something from it. And I would love to know what you think and, you know, how you're breaking free from things and situations and mindsets that are no longer serving you. And I would just love to connect with you. So feel free to drop a message, feel free to drop a comment or message me on Instagram. You can do that at Heartspace Atelier, just like this podcast name. I'm on Instagram, and then I'm also on my personal Instagram, which is just at Cinnamon Henry. And then I also have a TikTok at cinnamon_Henry. If you want to check those things out and connect with me more, I'd love to have you there. I just love my community a lot. And I'm always excited to connect with you. So I hope you're having a wonderful time. And I love you so much. And remember that you have a deeper well of love and abundance and warmth and golden light flowing within you at all times. And it's time for you to embrace that. I love you. Bye bye.